The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Vans.
We haven't fucking stopped riding since competition days. None of us. Continuous. It's my fucking passion.
Oh yeah, I wanted to be absolutely not attractive to snowboarders.
Maybe we need an injection of that, because it'd be interesting.
And I didn't sign the contract, probably just had it in my bag for a couple of months.
And we're all like, oh, that's just bang and let her run.
We pushed each other to become better.
Front three-tailed it.
Season 5 of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC, Anon Optics, Crow's Nest Barbershops, and the Boardroom Snowboard Shop. Support also comes from Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, and Cypress Mountain, the 3 local mountains here in Vancouver who, like everyone else who's not an essential service, are closed to help contain the coronavirus. The Canadian government has closed the border to tourists and advised all Canadians who aren't sick to avoid crowded places and non-essential gatherings, avoid common greetings such as handshakes, limit contact with people at higher risk like older adults and those in poor health, and keep a distance of at least 2 arms lengths, approximately 2 meters from each other. I'm taking a break from being a mailman as my station just didn't take any precautions or change anything to attempt to keep the workers and the public safe. And I'm honestly pretty bummed out about that, but I'm prepared to return to work as soon as they sort things out and get some rudimentary safety measures implemented. This week's featured sponsor, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, is keeping their online store, boardroomshop.com, open in spite of their brick and mortar shops being forced to close for the pandemic here. Here's the lowdown from their website. Boardroomshop.com will remain open and continue to service your needs in any way we can. We will accommodate any specific shipping needs to the best of our ability, so please don't hesitate to contact us at 1-800-316-7669 or email info@boardroomshop.com. If you normally prefer to hold your orders at one of our store locations for pickup, we will gladly ship it to you free of charge. Stay safe. See you all soon. The Boardroom. This week I've got multiple guests all in one drunken conversation in Jeff Davis's living room. They surprised me by having kind of a reunion while I was right there. Now, the 4 people who are in the room with me are Jeff Davis, Drew Hicken, Rich Vargas, and Noel Walkingshaw. These guys have been riding together for 30 years, like every year without a break. Jeff Davis rode for GNU, then he rode for Burton on that iconic team with Craig and Keith and Mike Jacoby and Brushy. Then he joined Nitro, where he got a pro model board, which was like a beefed up version of the Pyro. If you've heard any of my other episodes this year, we talk about the Pyro a lot. It was ahead of its time, had an asymmetrical side cut, so a deeper heel side cut. It was a sick board, and Jeff had the pro model version of that. Also, Jeff invented the Crippler. You're going to hear more about that in the show. Jeff, Drew, and Rich were a part of the original Salty 8, which is like the very first snowboard team. It's really, honestly, snowboarding's equivalent to the Zephyr team, if you know that Dogtown reference. My trip to Utah was an eye-opener on just how much history went down around the Great Salt Lake. This interview is unconventional, to say the least. There are a lot of people talking while drinking after a night of drinking, but listen closely because there are gems of awesomeness embedded throughout this entire episode.
All right, let's go around there.
Well, Jeff told me he had 2 beers in his refrigerator.
I believe he
2
does.
beers.
No, they're probably gone by now.
Fred made those beers.
Are they your beers?
They're not my beers. No, I'm not allowed to keep my beers in the fridge.
Oh, where do you keep your beers?
I drink them. No, those are the beers that Jeff bought to make Drew's delicious rustic.
Was there a beer for you, Drew?
No.
There's one in the fridge.
All right, here's the thing. If we're gonna do an introduction, you need to make sure that we're the original Salty 8.
So you ready? I mean, this could be a night. This is going to be a night.
Well,
Yeah, I'm in.
Are you okay? Good.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be drinking. Are you guys ready?
No,
Do you need
they're
a
No,
just
all right.
I'm
I'm making a drink because this is going to be.
You've already had drinks.
I know.
Would you like to offer your guests something?
Thank
Glass of
you.
water, Coca-Cola?
Oh, I'm fine.
Reese's peanut butter cup, lifesaver.
You got it all.
Got any cotton mouth? Need a lifesaver?
Oh, I got a lifesaver in my
If we
pocket.
get a fucking introduction, just remember
All right.
original.
So
Spontaneous.
let's hear about you, Eric.
No, man.
So I don't know.
Actually,
I'd like
yes.
to know. I'd like to know a little about
Okay.
it as
And
well.
you're-
Okay, sure.
Because I'm not a
Okay.
podcast guy or whatever. But Rich was telling me a little bit about what you guys have been doing.
Okay, so for about 5 years now, I took a moment to explain how I started the podcast, and then I list off a bunch of past guests. And with that, the trust seemed to be earned. And Jeff, Drew, Noel, and Rich started telling me the story of how snowboarding started in Utah.
So here's the thing: when you work in the industry that you love, you don't do what you love.
It's hard
so when
to.
you like
When
get
did
out
you-
of that.
when did you work in the
amazing.
boardroom?
I
What
worked
years?
the boardroom 93 to
Yeah, so
2007.
the shift to the boardroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, shift. That's right. I was
So,
there. Yeah. Shit. Yeah. So
Jeff's got a shift mug, coffee mug. I want a shift coffee mug.
I was trying to listen to snowboard podcasts, 4 or 5 years ago, and I don't want to shit on any of the ones that were out there. They were fine, but they were intermittent at best and didn't have the guests I wanted to have. And so I started reaching out to Farmer was the first pro. Ken Ock did the show first year.
Achenbach.
Yeah, Achenbach.
Yeah, right.
And Barfoot, Chuck Barfoot.
Right.
And I'm like, as I'm getting these rad guys, I'm like, holy shit, I can get, so I got Damian Sanders by the end of that first season. And I stopped in April, I think, and started up again in December the next year. And by the end of that year, I had Jamie Lynn. And I was like, yes, like, as you get
That's
more
how
and
you
more
had Hetzel.
people. Yeah, I
That's
got
all I was a
Hetzel.
team rider with him back in the day.
Oh, rad, yeah. On Kemper or?
I was a Kemper rider.
Oh, sick. Like, so Martin too, Martin Gallant. I did
he's
one with
original.
him. He's OG.
Right now, he's still riding Kemper.
Isn't that
Riders,
crazy? Yeah, I think I just saw Kevin Jones. He wasn't riding the Kemper thing. I think that might have fallen through. They were going to give him a pro model. But, yeah, so
As licensed camper, was that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
He issued jib hunt.
Yeah,
new
that's right,
licensed
Jib Hunt.
camper.
Yeah, he's in Park City now.
That's his
Oh,
name.
is that where it's from?
No, I know. He just moved here.
Because originally it was Toronto, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the Kemper
Recycled
brothers?
and regurgitated.
Yeah.
Shit. But
So then I've just been doing it 5 years now, and this is the 5th season. And this year I got money from fans, and they didn't tell me to do anything with it. They just said, keep doing what you're doing. So I did a trip to Tahoe, went to Encinitas to try and track down, Todd Richards and Jeff Brushy. Wound up, talking with UC Oxenden.
There's a bunch of pros right there. In that.
Yeah, so many people.
What's his name from Utah's there too? Bought a place.
JP.
Yeah,
Yeah, JP was there.
Kevin
well, I was.
Seacrest.
I mean, I know that
Seacrest.
this group here
Acadia.
is a Utah first generation, like really put snowboarding on the map.
Right.
This fucking group right here.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
be
it.
now, straight up.
That's it.
And-
79 Little Cottonwood. That's when I started riding.
on.
Right?
That's
That's where I grew up,
I'm
right?
born
Yeah.
and raised.
So
All of
Snowbird,
us
where you
born and
were,
raised.
yeah.
79. I went to Granite Elementary at the mouth of the canyon. Started snowboarding in 79.
What board are you
I
riding?
started-
The Burton with the one binding on the front and that.
Yeah.
And Brian Thorne, who I
Back
started
hill.
hanging out with again this week, his dad fabricated the skeg for the original winter stake.
Whoa.
Right? So there you go.
Way.
That's how old we are.
Noel and I are second cousins.
Oh, sick.
So
Right.
and Drew and I have known each other since about 7th grade.
Oh, jeez.
I've lived in this neighborhood in my 51 years. I've lived in this neighborhood in about a 2-mile square radius. I mean that's what's how close we are.
Yeah, we
it's
probably rode
ridiculous.
together, and we were arguing about it the other night. 81, he's got the board downstairs.
No way.
Plastic Coleco, no bindings.
Well, and
On either at the Country Club golf course or above Walmart there.
both.
That's amazing.
And I was out in Sandy, not knowing about Salt Lake, doing my thing. Right bottom of Little Cottonwood Canyon, hitchhiking up to fucking Alta, riding Flagstaff, and these guys were there on opposite days, riding.
Oh, we probably crossed paths.
80s.
We crossed paths with Gramps and those guys in the Valley of the Cornices back when you could call it that.
Absolutely.
Right.
I don't know that anybody's really gone through and documented properly the Utah story.
No,
because they always
we were
focus
hoping that the Transworld movie did.
Right.
And then they went from like Brewer to Bjorn and those guys.
Yeah.
And not dissing him, but like missed 8 years.
Early.
Right.
Before there was any resorts, like so my partner was Dennis at the shop, so that's who Dennis and I started Salty Peaks.
Holy smokes!
So all of that shit, in that area wasn't even in the Trans World.
What year was Salty Peaks?
We started in October of '87.
And there was the Salty 8 in '87, which was here's 1, 2, 3, here's 4 of the Salty 8.
Okay, it gets a little jumbled here. So for context, Drew Hicken and Dennis Nazari opened Salty Peaks together in 1987, but had a falling out, which has resulted in a long, drawn-out court battle, among other things. The original Salty 8 team was Drew Hicken and Dennis Nazari, Jeff Davis, Rich Varga, Bill Harris, Justin Jimenez, Gene Higgins, and Stephanie Charrington. Salty Peaks helped launch the careers of some heavy Utah pros, and Salty Peaks is the home of the Utah Snowboard Museum with over 1,000 boards on display. So I've talked extensively with Drew and with Dennis outside of this podcast episode, and there's a lot of history there that we could probably go into. But for now, let's just return to the show.
First time I went riding Big Conway Canyon, I remember Christmas time getting my Woody, going up Big Conway Canyon. Ended up meeting Dennis Nazari before you guys, and I think it was that summer of '87.
Yeah.
No, Dennis and I met the year before. It must have been '86, because we were already talking in the spring of '87.
It was '85.
About starting a snowboard shop, and then actually that Jeff guy who had cancer wasn't able to do it, and
you stepped in.
And I guess there's history.
What brands would you have had in '87?
We had no boards to sell when we opened. We put our own snowboards
So I bought
to make it look like
for Christmas. I got 2 GNU AG 166s.
So
remember the AG with the green squiggly?
Did it have a swallowtail?
No. What's this black square piece of foam?
The first anti-gravity
chunk of shit.
Oh, the anti-gravity.
The GNU, with the green. We should have all bought Burton Airs, and you sold me on those fucking AGs. Those fucking AGs. I got on that thing the first time.
2 years later.
After like 6 years of riding, I couldn't even make it 4 turns. I hiked to the top of Wildcat. I couldn't even do 4 turns on that fucker. And
we
blew up.
I remember we were so psyched at that
This
time
is on right now.
Yeah, that's great. We were sponsored by all of a sudden Salty Peaks had to me it felt like we had made it, and GNU accepted us, and we were sponsored.
Probably the first boards we got at the shop would have been. It was the worst year ever. We had no snow.
Snow-wise.
And I think it was probably the first boards we sold in January. So for 3 months, we didn't have anything.
GNU was the hottest product on the market.
And possibly the Avalanche.
It was
the black and white striped one that was like an ironing board with the square tail.
I just saw one at Dave Hatchett's.
Yeah.
A white one with the pointy.
Yeah, it could be one of the worst boards ever.
They call it the ironing board. He calls it the ironing board.
And the Sims 1600 plywood.
Yeah.
1500.
And then maybe a few barfoots with the foam, with the little rubber bumper on the top, and then they were 7-ply hard rock maple like a skateboard.
Yeah.
So I would have bought one of those and put it away.
Those are the Chuck ones.
Yeah.
So in Canada, we had Ken Achenbach was making them in the back of the shop.
Mm-hmm. And what was the other guy's name on there? It was Chuck Barfoot and
Ernie DeLost.
Ernie DeLost.
Yeah, Ernie DeLost.
Yeah, that's an old man for sure.
Yeah.
Good call.
They're working together again, actually. He wants to do more Barfoot stuff. He just moved back to New Jersey. Chuck's good.
Now this is that Drew right there. These two right there are pretty much Salty Peaks at its core. I mean, that's,
No,
that's,
I'll
huge,
include Dennis. We
that's
had a great. The first 5 years, the shop was amazing.
It's the Salty 8. I mean, it really started with the team, and which built into the core of the shop, and the brands that we've carried after that: GNU, Sims, Burton. I mean, that's really
Well, as the
what
sport
drove-
took off.
Absolutely, but you
I
had
mean,
to have
we
that
were the
core
only ones.
team.
Milo
that
didn't
do it.
really have. Those old guys kind of lost the connection with the younger people.
Was there a rivalry there?
It didn't
between
happen
the two?
until later because they were just like Wind Sport,
right?
Whatever, and then they had Winter Stick.
Yeah.
We had a
and then Winter Stick at the wrong time
And
basically
the only
fell
rivalry
apart,
really was with
and they were looked like a windsurf shop.
Right.
And we were right down the street. And we were starting to get the brands. We were like, Rich was just saying, we were getting, the connections with Burton, Sims. And we carried Sims from an early day. It was probably within, like 89 when things kind of blew up. We had Vision, Streetwear, all that, all the skateboards that I wish that we would have kept a couple, all the Tony Hawks, McGill, all the ones, the original ones, they were all warped. We sent them back as they were all ruined anyway.
So let's talk timeline.
That's where we got Ken, and that's where the next phase for Lib and really GNU came from. There's a hat off to Ken for pushing Salty Peaks and Riders.
Ken Kelly was pretty fucking huge.
Yeah, because Windline Sports
pretty
ran
huge in,
distribution for.
and just navigating where things went at that. I mean, regardless of who it was, of
Well, then you interviewed Carter Turk.
I did.
So Jeff and I went to Vancouver to Blackcomb for the filming of the GNU meal, where he blew his ankle out.
Yeah, that
double backflip.
Double backflip.
So we were sitting on the.
No way.
The two of us were sitting
So
right there.
You guys know who he is. Like a lot of
fuck
listeners didn't know.
I don't know if I've ever seen a more terrible fucking ankle break in my life.
Do we know Carter?
We barely got him off. Holy shit! We barely got him off the hill, and then like 4 days later, we go down to see him to make sure he's all right.
His ankle is like this.
But he's in a robe. He's trying to walk down the stairs. He slips and falls down the stairs and hits his ankle again.
No.
Yeah, true story.
Oh my god.
I think we were with Hermer then too. Another God rest his soul. Ken Hermer. You heard of his name?
I think
photographer passed away.
Yeah.
Quite a while ago.
Videos were just coming out.
Yeah.
And
sorry to, this is deep, dude.
This is deep. This is epic.
This is some right here. This is some
Tallest Wave comes out.
some shit that.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's another push.
Tallest Waves.
In Utah, that like things were blowing up. Andy Brewer, fucking Drew Hicken, Jeff Davis,
Coleman was there.
Noel Walkingshaw.
I didn't get into that one.
Who was?
I watched you guys.
Who
I was
was
like,
the
dude, that's
guy
just
that ended up
bony.
directing that? Tallest
Mick
Waves?
Worthen.
Mick Worthen.
Mm.
And
Also a film production guy for
who's the Brady Bunch dude?
Friday the 13th.
No, Brady Bunch did
Halloween. So the guy who filmed Tallest Waves and Shredding Vacation from Hell. Have you heard of that?
Mike Lookinland.
You don't know Shredding
Mike
Vacation
No.
from Hell?
Oh, I gotta look it up.
Wow. We'll get to that in
It's
a
Mick
second.
Worthen.
Mick Worthen.
Mike Lookinland is Brady.
Shredding Vacation.
Mike Lookinland is Bobby Brady.
Bobby Brady.
Is Mike? Is
But
Bobby
he was
Brady.
part of it. But
Bobby
Mick
Brady
Worthen-
was the money
Mick
behind it.
Worthen
Yes,
actually
yes.
filmed and worked on the film sets
Yes.
for Halloween, the original Halloweens, because
Yeah.
most of them were filmed
Nick
here in
Worthen
Utah,
and,
Salt
and,
Lake.
and, and there was another guy.
Full
I forgot his name.
16 millimeter,
They
like
got
real
their-
film.
Yeah.
The fucking
production.
movie ridiculous.
So Tallest Waves was one of the first videos from the Wasatch. Tim Strong, Andy Brewer,
No,
Rick
look at
here. Tallest Waves.
No, I'm just looking to
I
see if you can
mean,
find
it
anything
is-
about
it is-
Shredding Vacation from Hell on the internet.
Was Shredding Vacation from Hell like the follow up to Tallest Waves?
Yeah.
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 And who?
But it's been pretty famous. Like it's like the
It's a cult classic.
It's a
Right,
cult classic.
It's with a whole plot. Like
Oh, it's not like just a snowboard film.
no,
It's
so
a real plot.
My the partner Dennis It's a guy. It's too long to go
Oh,
through.
it's
You have to
complicated.
go
It's
through this whole
complicated.
process of getting captured by like German people, or no, what were the
Hungarians.
No.
Oh my God.
The Bulgarians.
The
It was
Bulgarians. It was the
I was on the
Bulgarians.
I was on the Bulgarian ski team.
Yeah, Bulgarians.
And then
that's
the-
right.
But in
punks
Shredding
tried to-
Vacation from Hell is probably the first 720.
Oh,
Andy
shit.
Brewer on a winter stick with strap-on bindings.
And he actually goes through the 720.
And pokes it.
Yeah, you'll have to get it. You'll have to
It
bring a
brings it
copy
up.
of that.
I gotta check it out. That's
Seven,
very
like one of the probably the first 720 on film is in Shredding Vacation from Hell.
That could be debatable.
Who beat
Probably
it?
one of the most badass.
What year would it be?
It would have been like 89,
The droid hadn't left.
87,
89.
No.
89.
It's 89.
1989.
Vegas.
Well, that's the published date, so
Thank
it's
God
like
that
88
year.
that we're
Here.
writing.
Because
This is Tony.
What
You.
year is Burton Chill? Because Craig and
Chill is 91.
Chill's
Yeah,
91,
it's
so
way
it's
there.
way before that.
Way before
Way-
Yeah.
We were making movies
Right.
way.
And it was like
Yeah,
hot chicks and ski dudes,
yeah,
right?
of course. Right, in hot
Well, that's what I
tubs
keep
and
saying.
tops fall off.
Dave
and
Hearn,
Oh, this is the whole
Bulgarians are
movie.
getting everybody
This is the whole
In the
movie
hot
right
tub.
here.
in the hot tub.
So I'm gonna jump ahead because City TV team put a video together. Adam Yacht snowboarding in Salt Lake City, right?
Yeah, we
Right.
talked about
Everybody
it.
knows about that, right?
Nick Worthen, Odie,
Right?
Ron. It was
So
Odie and
Adam
Ron.
walks into Salty Peaks. Some kids are like, "Dude, that's MCA."
Fucking
Hetzel
Christ.
brought him in.
Right?
Oh,
Hetzel
yeah,
brought
yeah,
him
yeah,
in.
Yeah.
Right? We're like, don't know who it is. We set him up with his first snowboard setup. I'm sitting there next to Rich at the cash register, and he drops down the Beastie Boys Incorporated gold
And
card.
before he said that, I looked at Hetzel and I was like, oh, I guess Adam and Beastie Boys is in town.
Right?
And Hetzel's with his buddy, Adam. And they dropped down, seriously, he dropped down the card and I was looking at it, I was like,
Beastie Boys Incorporated.
I was like,
Gold card.
Oh my
I
god.
was
And we were like,
okay.
No, original
Holy shit.
black American Express black card.
Whatever, it's gold.
brought
was
it-
gold, dude.
Brought it up to me, and because Rich was like, looked at it, was like, it actually said the Beastie Boys on it, not someone's
Yeah.
name.
Right.
Because we're like, credit card, it's
Yeah.
not like you like swipe and go.
No.
Right? It's like a machine. You like swipe it, you sign it, you
Fully
look at
on.
their driver's license, you take it in the back. Like 3 days later, it goes through some kind of a machine and you get the deposit.
Into your account.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so credit cards were like a big deal. It's
What board did he buy? What was
I don't know.
He was buying Dale Boot fucking liners.
Dale the Boot Liners.
Yeah.
Dale the Boot Liners.
And after,
Yeah,
no bullshit, he was
I'm
buying
on that.
Dale Boot liners. And after we saw the fucking card come down, I was like, go to the wall.
Just
Because
pick
we
some shit
had
out.
a
I don't
wall,
know what
signature
about.
wall, a Salty that had all the heavies on it. MCA's on there, still is. I was in there after I got kicked out a long time ago. Still there. Rip. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Well, that was.
So anyway, that was a good time.
You know what I want to ask Jeff? What if you remember? Do you remember what your run was that you beat Craig with? Like, did you have a set run that you were working on that year?
Ooh. I know it was the Crippler for sure.
Vision Pro in the
For
snow.
sure, it was the Vision Pro in snow, exactly. It was the Crippler. And I got DQ'd
For not putting your hand down?
for not putting my hand in the
Unreal.
correct spot from what they said. And Dave Alden's dad, we just were talking about this the other night, Paul Alden, paid for the protest fee. I won the protest
Yes.
and ended up winning the contest.
That's
So
unbelievable.
it was because somebody was not wanting me to win. So yeah.
Yeah, there was some kookiness with the judging around that time, right? I remember Palmer and Jeff Brushy switched kits.
That was in Japan.
Yeah, so
that
Palmer,
was in Japan.
So Palmer rode
and that was the
Brushy's
same.
kit.
They were doing it at protest. The same guy.
Exactly.
Ted Martin.
Ted Martin.
That's
Ted
who it
Martin.
was.
We were. They were. Did
He's
that
the one that went off us at Purgatory.
Yes.
No, yeah.
He's the one that.
Ted's
freaked
still
out.
around, by the way.
He is, yeah. He talked with Mike Rankwit on Rankwit was.
He
gonna
was
do a
only
podcast.
doing his job. Now
That's what it says,
I'll
Exactly.
say that
He
in
was,
his defense.
and he got a lot of fucking shit.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it was.
But
he was an
there
adult.
there were
He
times.
was trying to be an adult
Yeah.
when we were all
Right.
fuck off.
Right.
Here's the thing. You put it in perspective. Ted's still around doing his job.
Yeah.
And I got
How
no
old
job.
is he? Do you know?
I don't
Oh,
have
I
a job.
know.
And what are we doing?
God damn
We're
it.
doing different things.
Were you at that notorious contest in Europe where oh man, Jeff Fulton got sent home?
Yes. He was there too.
You were there too?
Was it
There was like an
fucking Austria?
Papa band and there was and the mayor, somebody at the mayor with a snowball maybe or something. I forget what
I think Rich was probably there.
yeah.
But I know I was absolutely there
Yeah.
at that contest. And the American ugliness came out. I mean, it was, they offered us free alcohol. We were 19 years old, and yes, that's what we do. We get drunk and we get hammered and we have a good time. I just remember just what you were saying with Rich, that person right there.
It's just a moment. in
Oh
time,
my
yes.
God. I'm watching him, remembering him doing debauchery. Oh, it was odd. Young, we were so young, so good.
And they
So Fulton got kicked out.
They for whatever reason he either got caught or he just got
It was him.
centered.
It was him.
He got centered out.
It was him. It was Rich.
But Jeff
It
got
was
busted
Rich.
for it. Yeah,
And,
he got-
Is that
Fulton,
real?
And
No.
Fulton got
No.
blamed
No.
for it.
That's great. We're all slightly guilty of, like just total mayhem. So
It was Rich.
But there was bad shit.
It was
going
That's
on.
hard to get in trouble.
It was,
in
no,
Europe,
it was
you know?
Rich.
Right.
I
Rich.
remember
Rich.
looking over at Davis and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "What are we doing?"
I mean,
And we'll just leave it.
How old are we?
Dude, no one knows the fucking story. It's all good.
We were so young. It was just, I mean, it was.
Well, I mean, you can murder someone and 7 years later.
Yeah, there
they
was
let
no
you get
murder.
away.
There may have been
This
a
is-
murder of a snowboard that was propped on a stand or something. But
Hey, I didn't say anything. I did not say it. I did not say anything. But I know things.
I think that was the end for Fulton's judging career too. I think he's like,
Yes.
I don't need to do this
And Jeff
anymore.
Fulton is
Because everybody was aggressive towards the judging. They just were. That was just the way it was. And Jeff was trying to be as fair as he could, but everyone knew he was Craig's friend. So he was actually being unfair to Craig to prove to everyone else that he was being fair. And so he never won. Like he didn't win. You know what I mean?
I agree with you 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, you that absolutely.
Because what
Fulton
happened
was in a
yeah.
tough spot.
He
Fulton
was
was in
in
a
a tough
tough.
spot,
Fulton
yeah.
was in a totally tough spot. Absolutely, he was integrated into a position that he really didn't want to be into.
Right. And it was all because of an injury. I think he broke his leg one year, and then he just the ski patrol was judging contests. Wherever you would go, just people would come out and they'd get whoever to judge.
Yeah.
And so he was in that first generation of people that were
And that's where Greg Johnson came into. Somebody had to delegate authority and figure out what's going on. And
Chantry fit in this whole thing.
Right.
Chantry was just there because of his Sims connections and being in the industry forever.
And he judged for quite a while as well. Didn't
Oh,
he?
absolutely. I mean, he was,
He still has a pretty good archive of everything.
It
for
was
sure.
he.
I hear that a
definitely
lot,
has Huge,
absolutely.
absolutely. He did a lot of videoing, but it was, I mean, it still is just, it's just tough. I mean, just so many, it happened so fast. Everything just started going down the pipe like, oh shit. We got X Games, we got Gravity Games, we got this, we got that. How do we manage everything? And I don't know.
You had a bit of a unfortunate, like, a car accident, right? And then that took you out for 6 months or something.
That was for me. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
I was an active snowboarder.
Yeah.
And then I got taken out. That's what kind of put me into judging.
So you did some judging as well.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely.
In the era after Craig, or kind of that.
Oh, I did from probably about 95 to I don't know, 20 something.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did a lot of judging.
Yeah.
A lot of judging.
For half pipe competition stuff.
Everything. Half pipe, slope style, freestyle motocross.
Yeah.
Everything. Every contest out there, I was judging. I kind of felt that was my duty to keep everything legit. You know,
Right.
like you gotta, you know, we're moving ahead so fast. You know, so
Need snowboarders who've been there to actually, you know, and that's what they do now for announcers, Todd and Craig McMorris.
Yep.
Tina Dixon.
Yeah.
Tina's been around for it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Kevin Delaney had a little stint in there as well.
Yeah.
You know, they.
Well, what's his name from
Todd's-
the Good New
Todd's
Meal? Did the Olympics. Was calling your name out in the actual O2 Olympics here. The super tall guy.
Oh,
Chris Carroll.
Chris Carroll.
Oh, Chris Carroll.
No, Chris Jamison.
Chris Jamison, yeah.
Chris Jamison,
Yeah.
yes.
Jamison.
So Jamison was at the Carter Turk broken ankle GNU meal debauchery.
Yeah.
And then I think he was the commentator for the O2 half pipe
No way. That's
Olympics here. Because
Yeah.
someone did a crippler, right? And I remember him like calling out, saying something, hometown
Well,
Jeff Davis.
Here's the thing.
dope.
Here's the thing. First generation right here. I've got two boys, 17 and 20. They watched all the contests. What gets called out? Crippler. And when they were really young, I was like, Davis, that guy. And Davis was fucking good enough to ride with the boys when they were young and help them out. And to have that other generation, my boys' generation, grew up with Drew, Noel, Jeff's talent, and to be able to be like, hear Crippler and know where that comes from, because everyone does, is fucking special.
Yeah, that's
and
dope.
amazing.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I appreciate that. My boys love it.
I appreciate your boys because I love riding with them and
Absolutely.
fucking hey man.
Except they're too fast.
Well,
Oh my
fucking
God.
good.
You should see this kid's. I mean,
They're just
Richie's
fast.
boys they're faster in a pool than they are on the snowboard. So that's the crazy
They
thing.
know
right?
Crippler and where it comes from. And that's what it needs to be. I mean, there's a history.
Well, we
It
talked
needs to
about
be
this
documented.
earlier today,
Correct.
which was really cool. That he was saying, you know, we acknowledge all the golf people. We acknowledge all the surf. You know, I mean, every other athlete is pretty much been acknowledged and they're revered and they're you know, they're taken care of. But snowboarding is the one little aspect that I've noticed that who do you remember? I mean, literally, if you go back and you look, you know, it's not like you know every snowboarder. You don't know. You go into skateboarding, you know the skateboarders. You know Amar Hassan. You know all the Tony Hawk. You know all these guys, but you don't know them in snowboarding. It's really weird. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to pump my name up and be. I don't give a shit. I did a little teeny fucking slice. A little slice. And then I'm happy for it. You know, but
we're still relatively new.
But I have a lot of friends
in the 80s
that have, you know, I got a fucking kick-ass crew of friends that have solidified what I can look back on the rest of my life. You know.
Well, I think the curious thing, and the more positive thing too about it is that they're starting to do it, right? Like, but why did it take so long? That's sort of weird to me. But there's this renaissance in like shapes right now, and celebrating.
There is,
people
right?
that you know, like I wouldn't be surprised if this thing with Benny and Nitro grew into something where they did an acknowledgement, because you're not talking about different people.
Right.
It's still the same guys that own that company from when you were there. Like, and they're on it. They're like, yeah, we got to give him boards, right? Like, of course.
And don't forget, you got like Drew Hicken here has the bow tie 196 swallowtail signature model. I mean, there's
or you look at Brad Cobra, Cowboy. Do you know Cowboy?
Ford builds, unfortunately.
Not Cowboy.
So Cowboy, right? 1990s, Cowboys cutting snowboards in half.
And it starts as fun.
And we start like building shit, and we're cutting boards, and we're like
the
stuff.
So to clarify that, Cowboy ended up working with Volet, which made the first split apart boards.
Split boards.
Yeah.
But it was coming into Salty Peaks, and we were grinding parts and pieces
to make them.
To fabricate.
We've been riding split boards like
since split boards were the
then the whole thing fell out. Then the whole thing fell out of fashion altogether. And was nothing. And now I walk in there and I look at boards for like probably tonight or whatever at $1,200. You gotta be shitting me.
Yeah. No,
so we were with Cowboy. We were fabricating the first split boards.
Right.
Okay, so I'd already heard a similar claim about the origin of the split board from Mark Fawcett and Shane at Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. They said John Buffrey invented the split board. Buff, who some of you listeners will know as the snow science guy in Travis Rice's Depth Perception, is an avalanche forecaster for British Columbia. I texted him about the split board claim, and he sent me pictures from the spring of '92, which coincidentally is the same time Cowboy and the Salty crew put together their first split. Cowboy is a snow science guy and an avalanche forecaster in Utah. I saw his split board and sent John some pictures. Definitely these two independently cut boards without knowing what the other was doing. This coincidence was just too cool. So I called the two of them up together today. And this is audio of the first time these two inventors of the split board have met on the phone or anywhere. It's pretty cool.
Just saying to Eric there, it totally makes sense that here we are walking around the backcountry and thinking, I'm not going to carry a board on my back. It's too heavy. I got so much shit to carry.
At the time, I grew up as a skier. I was so enthralled with the flotation of the snowboard, and the skis at the time were horrible. Oh, they were god-awful.
Skinny, long, stiff things,
Boots were freaking horrible also, and holy crap, I just didn't want anything to do with those things after floating on the snowboard, So I'm sure like you, just thinking about it and going, yeah, how can I get up the hill on this thing?
Yeah, exactly. Well, dude, have a good season there, Cowboy.
Hey, you too. It's good to meet you over the phone, and you do the same up there.
Yeah.
Right?
Like you weren't copying some split board.
No, we were fabricating the very first split boards.
And then clipping them back together, trying to figure
I was thinking about that because I've been talking with
I just barely bought a Arbor.
Yeah.
All the boards the last 20 years I've ever ridden have been cut in half.
Yeah.
The board I'm retiring right now is a board that Noel and I cut in half, and it's an atomic.
You guys were using
wow.
Binding pieces to.
You got to put a disc inside the puck.
Yeah.
You put a disc inside the puck, then you can change the angles any way you want.
That's perfect.
So we figured that out, right?
Yeah.
So every split board today has a disc inside the little square puck.
Yeah.
And you split it, right? And we put the little saws together. You could put in there. You could sew that. And we finished half a bottle of Jack Daniels that night. Right? But every split board today has a puck with a disc inside the middle of it.
Right.
No,
and that goes back to Volet sometime in the 90s, and I was way too drunk, and I had to argue with Bob, Athey, and Cowboy. And those guys are two hard guys to fucking argue with. Wally would let us go in there after closing, and we could bake anything we want. And we would sit there with the metal grinders, and I kept trying to get Cowboy, because I'm not very good at like making plastic things. But like they could make the plastic things, right? And that's what we did, right?
And that's a
the
side
puck
note,
today
that's a
on
side
every
note to
fucking
the
split board
Wasatch.
started from a drunk whiskey night.
But split boarding, fucking split boarding started in the Wasatch.
Right.
Straight up, and we'll leave it at
whiskey night.
That is
a drunk whiskey night.
But seriously, how big has split boarding gotten?
It's
It
humongous,
started
yeah.
in the fucking Wasatch.
Well, snowboarding started in the Wasatch.
Right.
Like undeniably.
Dimitri.
Yeah.
With Dimitri.
It's undisputed.
Jake
knows it.
I
he
was
said it.
13.
It started, but those guys were riding the hills back with the Smurfers back.
Well, Jake was
That's not snowboarding.
worked
It's a
at
different thing.
At
Now
whatever
they
the
Technically, people are
surfing.
looking into those as different. It's
100%.
not footage in that stuff.
It's
that
100%
credits
different.
us.
Because I think even the early Burton boards that were more like water skis.
Away.
I don't think those count as snowboarding. Like snowboarding is
Oh my god, it's
you
like
gotta
honey and whiskey.
side cut. You gotta have a scoop. You gotta have a board. Like you have to have a board and bindings. Dimitri had a board and bindings.
Right.
He was making surfing turns on snow.
Well, and like there's some footage of
There's
it,
footage of him in what 70.
71.
I found out today how they made the bumps because me and Scott Surface has two
Oh
of
my
those
God.
bumps. He thought that they were pre-cured bumps that were put on.
They're
another-
just like little
another
chunks of
gel coat.
enamel.
It was like I thought
Or
you
whatever.
put a lot of epoxy on, and then you turn it upside down and let the drip strip.
They crushed up glass
Right.
and put it on the top. But the
Damn.
ones,
Oh yeah, the
little
ones up
nipples,
there are sick.
The nipples, yeah.
and he still has the mold at his engineering place
Jordan has them.
At Radius.
at Radius.
Radius, yeah.
Right.
And
has
coffee
a-
with
oh,
my
Radius.
I'll
Yeah,
guarantee you.
yeah.
That's old
I'll
school
guarantee
right
you
there.
that in the aluminum mold, all those little nipples are there.
That's incredible.
Jorgen has a fucking mold. Mueller.
A broken one.
Oh, he has the fucking mold.
But originally, when I
had coffee with Dimitri last year.
talked to
With my
Dimitri, it's in that building.
That's incredible.
So you had B-boys in Salt Lake City. You had B-boys and winter stickers, and I was an original B-boy. 79. All you could get was the back hill or the backyard.
Yeah.
Right. That was your choice.
Yeah.
Powder magazine. You order it. You got the back hill or the backyard. Right.
Yeah.
And so you had B-boys or winter stickers.
Yeah.
And on Flagstaff Mountain when you post hold up, you had a winter sticker trail and you had a B-boy.
Come on.
It was uncool to use another group's trail. And so you would have multiple post holes up Flagstaff because if you followed somebody else's trail, you would get totally vibed out. You would get so vibed out. Like, no. And there's like 40 of us, right? There's like 40.
That's a lot. That's a healthy group of
Right.
people.
That's a healthy group of people. There's like 40 of us. But like following somebody else's line wasn't cool. But we didn't know that it was okay to follow somebody else's line.
Yeah.
Because we were just like post holing. Like nobody was there. There was no one in 1980 post holing.
Well, I was just going to say what happened was there was a connection between Sherman Poppin and Jake because Jake went to Sherman's Muskegon, Michigan contest.
Yep.
And so there's that direct connection. So the story evolved.
Okay, here it goes. My history of snowboarding. Based on the people I've talked to and what I've learned, it's completely just a theory. But this is what I really think. Based on Chuck Barfoot starting this idea in my head, essentially when there was not that much going on in snowboarding in the early 80s, there was no reason to look back and say who invented snowboarding because snowboarding wasn't a thing yet. But almost immediately after getting into snowboarding in 1979, a couple of years after Jake Burton, Tom Sims just starts claiming that he invented snowboarding. So I think he says something along the lines of like, yeah, I invented it in 1975, which forces Jake
to actually set the record straight. So Jake says, no, 71, Dmitry Milovich is fully snowboarding with bindings. And in 69, Sherman Poppin invents the snurfer, which eventually Jake would have and modify and make a bigger version, which would eventually become the snowboard. So the real inventor would be probably Sherman Poppin plus Dmitry Milovich on another level, right? So Tom Sims doesn't agree with this history and just changes his date again and says, oh, actually, I forgot. When I was in grade 7 in 1963 in woodshop, I invented a snowboard. And he goes to his garage and miraculously pulls this thing out. Now, Chuck Barfoot looks at the board and goes, that shit is not from 1963, Tom, and you know it, because Chuck had invented, out of necessity, these bungee cord straps so that someone could ride a board who was goofy or regular. You could just slide your foot under the bungee cord strap. And Tom's 1963 board has surprisingly similar bungee cord straps, which weren't on any of his later boards, and Chucky invented that. So it's still debated, and if you look up the history of snowboarding, who invented it, you're going to see that Tom story. Like, he put some effort into making the story legit. There's like some people in his hometown in New Jersey that basically say, you can see the blueprints at his old high school. There's a friend of his who also rode the board who corroborated his story. And then there's this mysterious story he tells of photographers like saw these two 13-year-old kids riding this piece of wood and asked if it was cool to take photos. And then, according to Tom, supposedly they took these photos from New Jersey over to Michigan and showed them to Sherman, and that's how he got the idea for the snurfer. It's a ridiculous story to me personally. Some of you might be insulted by me saying this. You know what? We're going to have to dig into it deeper in another episode. But what we do know happens is Jake's story about Sherman and the snurfer becoming the snowboard becomes another parallel invention story to Tom Sims's. And the Dmitry part of it just is a remainder that's kind of messy. So they just omit it. It's not a part of it. And so that's the first time that Utah gets like a full-on shaft about the history of snowboarding. And then another thing that's just like erased from the collective memory for some reason is that Alta, which still to this day does not allow snowboarding. That's what the most bizarre thing of this story is. Alta allowed snowboarding from 1979 through to 1981. So for 3 seasons, you could ride up the lift on these little plastic K-tail skis and then put the skis in your backpack, take your snowboard up under your arm, put your snowboard on, ride the run on your snowboard, and then take it off at the bottom, put on the skis. For 3 years, these guys got to ride lifts in 79, 80, and 81. Now, that is well before any other resort opens to snowboarding. If you are from Europe and you're like, wait, no, we were riding earlier than that, please get in touch with me, let me know. Or anyone from anywhere in the world that was riding a lift earlier than 79, come on, seriously. It just didn't happen. So somehow that got omitted from the record too. And these guys were there. These guys got to do this. And if they weren't on the lifts, they were in the very next generation, which were hiking at Flagstaff Mountain, as you'll hear. And there's a solid scene of like 40 people in Utah that are basically, the Dogtown years of skateboarding happened in the early 80s in Utah. And the Zephyr team is the Salty 8. It's like these guys become super pros, and somebody's got to make this movie. Please just make the movie. Okay, back to the show. There's a timeline where you can put the board side by side where Jake basically makes a snurfer Burton, like the BB1 looks like a snurfer. It's got a rope nose.
Yeah. It's got the rubber binding.
I've got one in the back of my car right now.
The BB1?
The BB1, yeah. It's the Burton board one. It's from their first year.
with
But
the green
I should show you.
mountain.
that was kind of
I
just an
got this
accident
board in my car. We gotta ride it next
went
time
that
we're
way.
up there.
Because if
Let's
you
see
were
it.
to ask Jake Burton Carpenter who invented snowboarding, he would say, well, Sherman invented snurfing, and then Dimitri invented snowboarding.
I love it because you're old.
Oh yeah, that's
Those are what are hanging up in
Sims.
Brighton.
Yeah, that's the snurfer.
Well,
To-
what, you
Lonnie
just-
Toff
I mean-
with the Alva deck, and then that winter stick. That's a legitimate winter
Those
stick.
hang on the
but
wall
that,
in the lodge at
but
Brighton.
that's new with those big
Yeah.
swallowtail first gens.
Well, that's that winter stick right there. Those bindings, like the first winter stick, and I have two in my basement. I have a blue and a yellow.
You know how much those are worth?
I have a blue swallowtail with the original all cotton straps. Because after that, they had the nylon one for the clips.
Unbelievable.
With the powder stick, and I have a yellow round tail.
You have two of them.
One of each.
You got kids to put through college? Because that'll put them through college.
I got a lot. There's a lot more.
Here's the thing. It
I don't have a lot of the other stuff, but I have like the early '90s stuff.
Yeah.
That will become more popular. Like
Sure.
I have a brand new GNU concept, which could be
Original
one of
GNU
the
concept.
progressive boards before Davis board and that.
Yeah.
Brand new, never ridden.
Oh wow. Yeah, the GNU concept. It's like it's twin-ish.
Yep, black.
It was the first
with,
real true twin kind of thing.
Yeah.
Fluorescent green.
Well, Neil DeFern made a twin tip in like '85.
So that's where I thought.
And Neil passed away in the powder room.
That's
Well, I
right.
was in the
That's right.
helicopter.
He was
with
in the
him.
helicopter.
Okay, trigger warning here. I'm going to talk about a helicopter crash for a second because it's relevant to this story. If you're not down to hear that, just skip ahead a couple of minutes. I'm talking to you, Ken. Okay, I'm just going to go into a bit of details about this helicopter crash because a lot of you will have heard about it if you're into snowboarding back when I was, and some of you new listeners will have absolutely no idea what we're talking about here. But on April 17th, 1990, a helicopter crashed at the Powder 8 World Championships and killed Donnie LeBlanc, Neil DeFern, and Patty Patrone. 5 others were seriously hurt. According to Mike Wigley, who hosted the event, the Bell 212 took off with 14 passengers aboard, including competitors and Wigley's wife and daughter. It gained altitude and then lost power and was forced to land, but then it swung off to the side and the rotor hit the snow and threw the helicopter around. The helicopter caught fire and then complete mayhem broke out. Wigley, who helped pull passengers out of the burning helicopter, was hospitalized overnight with burns, as was his wife Bonnie. And as some of you know, Don Schwartz was also badly burned in that fire. And so was Drew, actually. So surviving competitor Drew Hicken, who we're talking to in this episode, commented, "The helicopter was upside down when we were trapped, hanging by seatbelts that wouldn't open when weight bearing. Some of us were able to unweight our seatbelts and get free and help others unbelt. The fuselage had twisted and nothing would open. The doors wouldn't open and the windows were too thick to kick out. Fortunately, there was a 20-centimeter space between the ceiling and the pilot's cabin that some of us were able to squeeze under and escape out the pilot's door. All this happened when the helicopter was burning. Unfortunately, not all of us escaped before the helicopter completely engulfed in flames." Now, I've talked with Drew afterwards on this event, and yes, of course, he suffered some crazy trauma. Like, it sucks to be involved in an event like this. He sent me one picture of it, and it is just it's just crazy. He's running towards the camera. Ken Achenbach's crawling on his hands and knees under the rotor blade that's on the snow upside down. It's like, and Evan Feen is just like smashing the window, like pulling someone out of like the thing is on fire. It's nuts. It's just absolutely nuts to see. It really affected me to see it. And now talking about it, it's like I'll never be able to unsee that image. I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be there. So yeah, that's what Drew's talking about kind of quietly here. We don't really get into it, but yeah.
You were on that trip?
I was in the helicopter with Neil DeFern.
Oh my God, dude. What, that's, you have like PTSD from that? Like, holy
Well,
jeez.
I have to say, I went and flew with him in Alaska a couple of years later, and I felt good getting in the helicopter with him.
Yeah.
Because it won't go down twice.
Yeah, it's
all the guys like to fly with me after that.
Yeah, and Don Schwartz put his whole.
Well, there's three people: Neil, Patty Patron, who was evidently pregnant, and Danny LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Passed away.
Yeah.
And
that was
Schwartz
crazy.
got pretty burnt, obviously.
Yeah.
And actually had the balls to go back and actually work for
Wiggly.
Yeah. I went back while he was working and flew with him.
Oh my God.
And went to the orientation with him, and he's all like, "Hey, we got these plastic windows you can punch out. Hey, Drew, those are a pretty good idea, right?" We have ladders, because the whole fuselage was on the side.
Yeah.
And he's like, "We have these ladders in case you have to escape. Drew, those are a pretty good idea, right?" So, well, and a few other shout outs. I mean, Evan Feen saved my life.
Evan Feen.
So, and a few other people's.
Yeah.
He's one of the few that, and I got pictures.
He reacted. He's
standing right there at where the fuselage was, reaching in, yelling and grabbing people and pulling him out of the black smoke.
You're
where
blowing my mind.
people were like running away because they thought obviously
gonna
it was gonna
explode.
fucking blow up.
Yeah.
Evan Feen.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So I don't know if you ever run into him. I'd like to.
I've been tracking him, trying to track him down for like 3 years, 5 years or something.
Okay, after doing this episode, I tracked Evan Feen down. I've been looking for him for years, and when I went back to the first place I started, I actually got his number from his son, who I'm friends with in social media. He just sent me his number. I texted him. He was like, "Who the hell is this?" I was like, "You want to do an interview?" And he's like, "No, not really." So while I was putting this episode together, I texted him again, and I just said, "Hey, look, you get mentioned as a hero in this story, and do you want to do a quick on tape thing?" And he wrote back almost right away, and this is a quote from Evan Feen. "To you and my friends, hello. I'm living simply, peacefully, with intent in an ancient forest." And then he sent a quick video of a tree that I think is where he's living, just kind of blowing in the wind.
Yeah, I talked to Mouse. I called Jamie Mossberg because Evan and Jamie worked on a bunch of films together.
There's a good buddy of mine that was what we were called the Walkaways because we didn't get burned, but Mark Rickers, who I communicate with a lot, and Andrew Worm.
Yeah.
As well. So
that was a pivotal moment in snowboard history. Huge. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I think of it now like if it happened because of social media, it would have been like an explosion. But like I came back and for days, industry people hadn't even heard about it.
They didn't know. So
yeah, the news came in from Canada.
Yeah.
Something happened. This, that, and the other. Like, I was making phone calls to my parents later. They didn't even know about it for 4 or 5 days because I didn't even want to tell them.
Right.
Now it would be.
I didn't know.
Can you imagine?
No, I can't. I can't even imagine. There hasn't been anything like that since. That was almost 30 years ago.
Okay. Or more.
No. It's spring.
We're chatting.
Will be 30.
29 years.
It was 90.
Yeah.
It was April of 90.
Holy jeez, man.
Interesting story.
That
I
was
wish I
just
could stay.
21 or something.
Yeah.
I'll be 52 next January. Yep, I'll be 30.
So yeah, Neil was building twin tip boards, maybe 84 or 85, for Team Extreme, and they had barfoot bases on them. That's what that barfoot twin tip, like even though the twin tip that came out in production wasn't twin tipped, there's some out there that had that.
I have a Team Extreme sweatshirt.
Oh, do you?
In one of my archives.
Oh, that's epic.
In Dayglow.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, that's a crazy
And
crew.
who was that? Who was kind of a part of that? The.
You know what I don't know that. Was it Ken Ockenbach in those guys?
Ken was on the helicopter as well.
Yeah, Ken was there.
Yes, Rock.
One of them was on the
Attention
crowd.
leader, thank you for doing this. It's awesome.
But one of the two were on the actual helicopter.
Yeah.
Because he got burnt as well.
Wow. That's just so gnarly.
I think it was.
Yeah, I haven't
And
ever
it may have
talked to
been
anyone that was on it.
Dave Achenbach is his brother.
Yeah.
Ken and Dave.
Dave was on the cover of the first.
One of the photographers. There's like 3 photographers because we were there for the first Powerade contest.
Oh, that's
which,
right.
Which
That's
funny
right.
enough
So-
is being like redone this year, I think.
They're doing powder eights again up there.
Yeah.
So they were, we had just all done the run, ate lunch,
Yeah.
and that's when the craft took off.
Yeah.
So there's like 4 photographers that have 100, shots each.
Of that.
Oh, not of it going down, but outside, on fire, people running away,
Holy shit.
it melting in. It basically melted out of sight.
I think I've only seen one shot of it, and it was wreckage, but like days later.
I've only seen one, and it was with the fire.
If you want to, I have a whole stack of them. If you really
God.
want to see them.
I don't know how.
Matter of fact, we got buzzed the other night when Megan and Jeff came over to my house for Thanksgiving, and I pulled them out, which only a handful of people I've ever shown.
Yeah. Yeah, of
'Cause
course.
they all came. These are all from the lawsuit. So that's
Right.
the only reason I have.
Right.
And they're just photocopies of the actual pictures.
Oh, so those pictures would have had to been submitted to court for lawsuit.
Well, like right when it started on fire. That's why I say, like, you can see Evan Feen,
Yeah.
one of the few people,
Just
reaching into the
doing it.
fuselage,
Saving people.
yelling.
That's
Certainly.
so intense, man.
Yeah. I don't even know if I've ever spoke to him since, which I would like to.
Well, if I get in touch with them, I'll
Yeah, that would be
definitely get
rad.
in touch with
I'll
you.
give you my information.
Yeah, for sure. That would be sick. Yeah, because Evan went on to. He was a really good pro snowboarder in Canada. Like I saw some movies with him in it, on his barfoot stuff. But he became more and more reclusive over the years, and just then, like even his friends don't know where he is.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah.
From
Well,
that
it was
actually Sean's wife,
because-
actually, or husband.
Yeah.
Boyfriend at the time.
It was
went
because
AWOL.
the industry did not care.
It's hard to say betray.
No, they just didn't. They didn't understand that the movement.
keep
You know, I
moving
mean,
forward.
just these people were very talented and it's tough. Yeah, I mean, Evan Feen was huge. I mean,
So part of that Team Extreme was it Matthews, who was
I
don't know.
not Dave. It was
Tall
Dave
guy.
Matthews.
had a
with
beard. He was
with,
there. That's what I thought too. So I thought Dave Matthews. Remember?
It's Dave Matthews.
That's a
6'3".
senior.
Huh?
That's a senior dude.
I know, but this guy's.
What board is that I'm looking at right there, with the car on the bottom?
That's my signature model.
Sick. With what brand is that?
Nitro.
If you've not seen it, pull one up.
We got one down
Yeah,
there.
bring it up.
This is the original twin tip with a
Matthews.
deeper heel side cut
Yeah.
than toe side.
Or on the Circe.
So
Matthews.
you picked a
Furry beard
tip or
guy.
tail based upon the heel side.
Right.
Huh?
The Sarah, the original Sarah.
Yeah,
He's
like
in a
the-
picture I have, and that's who gave me the Team Extreme sweatshirt that he's talking about. That's why I was thinking of that.
What was the guy's name?
His last name's Matthews, I know for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure he's a Canuck as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. All those Team Extreme guys. There was a weird connection between Santa Barbara and
Fucking Canada.
It was Ken. Ken would drive down there and surf, buy boards from Chuck or get boards on credit, drive them back to his shop in Calgary, and it was crazy. Canada had a shop in like '82. He opened the snowboard shop in Edmonton in his garage or something in 1982. It's like a bizarre. It's so early to have a snowboard shop. And
early
then-
to have a shop. Early, that shit was going on back then.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Well, they had their glory too, and they had
everything everywhere. You know, I mean, the
Well,
contest
they were
scene.
like
The contest
well-known.
scene was the thing that was getting everything rolling.
Yeah.
85 Worlds in fucking Soda Springs.
Soda Springs.
Then 86 Worlds in Breckenridge, which out of the group, I was the only one that was there.
You went to that TDK.
Rich got third
It was
place in
before
the
that.
boys division.
Oh, yeah, that was
86 boys.
that
It
was
was
89.
Rob Morrow, Tucker Franson. I took third.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
And
that was
then-
easiest
that
race
was
ever.
86. That's before
You
you guys were there.
didn't you take third in the
What was that,
Snowboard Bank Slalom this year?
And this year at the Snowboard Bank Slalom. 40
Yeah,
plus,
third
I took
is like Richie's favorite
Where was
place.
the 86?
Third is Rich's favorite place.
86 was in Breckenridge.
Okay, so 87 as well.
And 87,
Okay.
87, that's when Jeff and Drew and the other crew.
We finally
that
showed
big,
up, and I
and
drove my dad's motorhome. We saw the
Finally
parking
showed up
lot.
there.
Where was 87?
87 was at Breck as well.
Breck.
That's
And
why
then- when
86
was-
is when I met Tina Bassage, who obviously did her thing with Sims before and Kemper.
Camper, yeah.
And then 87, my other friends from Salt Lake finally came.
When was the one that Ken had up in Lake Louise? Up at Banff?
Oh, God.
The
That was
one-
87, 88.
Not a U.S.
Yeah.
Open.
He had a Worlds. He just threw a
No,
World.
that was
He made up
the-
a Worlds.
The only worlds I knew was freaking TDK Worlds and Breck and Soda Springs.
Soda Springs 85.
Well,
right?
and then we went back in 88, right?
86 was Breckenridge, 87 was Breck.
Right before the shop.
88 was TDK.
Spring of 87.
Swatch.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. Yeah, that's a.
I have
so
all
many
the film, I have a lot of footage.
iconic
Because that's when Gadoo
sponsors.
actually was out.
Yeah.
Because Jeff rode the Chaos.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
fucking
like out
little
a day
baby
before.
boy.
They gave, and Gene Higgins.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
wow.
not-
Gene Higgins.
And let's not forget, Gene Higgins is a Wasatch local who has
Sick.
completely fucking disappeared off the map. Tallest waves. She was and is.
She was in Snowboarders in Exile.
She,
too.
she was.
Oh, Gene
She was
Higgins.
the best.
She's badass.
She was.
She threw her body
seriously,
on the line.
she was the fucking best.
I got her to sign my coat when I was down at Mount Hood in 1990.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Gene
I
Higgins
did
was
see her at
badass.
the,
Seriously, Gene
in the
was-
Plaza probably 10 years ago.
Gene was.
You did?
Yep.
Gene was the
I
best.
see your sister every now and then. We were neighbors growing up.
Gene was the best.
Your sister was sweet to me.
And she.
There weren't
just
many women.
disappeared.
Yeah, there weren't many women in
Last time I saw her, she was.
You know, but though the difference is,
Uh,
like the women were treated like other sports, not in snowboarding. The women were, I think, early on, were treated like equals.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They
Like,
always
I think it was
ask
kind of
her-
a progressive sport for the time
Yeah.
because like the Jeans and the Lori Gibbs and Lori Asperis or whatever and Carrie and
Well, I
Tina
won
and
the-
those girls, like prize monies were close, even though they were only $500.
No, when I
or
won
whatever,
the, when
like-
I won the when I won the biggest hair at Purgatory that year, Gene got the highest air for the women. I won the men's and I won $500. And they asked me, is it fair that we give the women the same amount of money? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And it was Tara Eberhard that ended up winning because Gene, they said, did a butt check on the big air on the half pipe. And that's why she didn't win the $500, but it was $500 for each man and women.
Oh wow!
But every
At
discipline always included both.
Right.
There wasn't a differentiate. Like there wasn't something that like, oh, only men play this sport.
Right.
Like all the contests had a women division.
It didn't, yeah.
And well represented.
Yeah.
All right, I reached out to Circe Wallace just to confirm what these guys are saying about the inclusion of women. I didn't want to put it in there if they're practicing a kind of revisionist history, but she said, I don't remember, to be honest, but it feels a lot like the early contests were probably close to equal, and for sure always a woman or a girls division. It got a bit imbalanced as the years went on, but I feel like snowboarding for the most part has always been pretty good about that. So, yeah, just a quick fact check there.
It was the men's, and then men's and women's.
Was men's and the girls. No. It wasn't though. I think it was.
No, you're
I'm
right.
actually proud of that.
Right.
I'm actually proud of that. I think
Yeah.
the sport
It
was
was
very
two separate divisions. The women the women are going to do their runs. The men are going to do their runs. Whether it be half pipe or GS or because we always had to go do dual sports. We had to do half pipe, freestyle, or racing. We had to do
Yeah, it's wild.
Pretty much anytime we went to a contest, it was all right. We got the race boards, we got the freestyle boards, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was.
I was just saying that, like, with the inclusion, like with all this Me Too movement and that.
Yeah.
All divisions and everything with women were involved in it.
Oh,
yeah, there was pro
and the money was close, and like it wasn't like, well, this, sport's too extreme, you're not included. Like
right.
They were always.
And remember,
we were all misfits.
Yeah,
so we were like, who would be dissing on the girls, especially like if you're at the party doing, keg runs and whatever, and Lori Gibbs is there doing it, better than we can. Like, you're not gonna go on the hill the next day. Go, you can't ride that slow, whatever.
Yeah, the invert thing was always the weird thing for snowboarding. That they came up with this idea that we couldn't go.
That was a
upside
ski
down.
resort thing, I think.
Yeah, that was
for a long time.
Yeah,
I think there was an industry insurance issue.
That's
and
what
when
they
that
told
left,
us.
I think that's what changed.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a
bizarre.
huge thing. That you couldn't do inverted aerials. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that, and the snowboard industry was stuck. Like, well, shit. What do we do? This is with skateboarding. We're doing
I love that they called it the crippler.
Well, I have a.
It would kill you if you fucking missed it.
I have the ad that I wrote for Burton. They said, "Do not attempt this illegal maneuver." And it was clearly Mount Hood.
Yeah.
But they called it Whistler because they just had to cover their ass. They just were scared. And it was a full ad that they put in a magazine.
It came from Tony.
I gotta find that ad.
I have it.
I think Tony.
What's the what?
The crippler.
That's how you cover the mic.
The crippler was from Apgood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When real first hype.
Well, it was like, dude, check this out.
This when real
and I showed
real high grade came.
It was
called the crippler.
Well, the crippler. This is the
was
true fucking story.
It was the strain.
This is wasn't like California Sense outdoor grown. It was like.
I was smoking fucking weed.
Yeah.
Crystals.
I was smoking fucking weed with a guy in the natural half pipe of Park West. And the trick that everybody had to do if you wanted to be on the fucking stage was the J-Tear air. And I'm like, I'm doing, and I go out and I huck one and I don't even put my hands down. And he's like, dude, that's a crippler. Is what Tony Apgood said.
Right.
Don't put his name on there. I think that story's wrong. I think you invented the air, but he had like, dude, I'm the crippler.
No,
I'm gonna name it that.
He was smoking. It was a combination of the two. That we were smoking crippler weed, and I was throwing a trick that like. You're gonna get crippled if you don't, because Tony's never gonna do that trick. Tony was like but he was there, and I was chucking this thing.
Buried with this fucking guy.
Yeah, no, this is literally what it was. I mean, literally.
His name is Tony Apgood.
No, I swear to God, that's in my memory was.
That's
it was.
He was the only one that had that weed at the time. That's what
Oh, for sure. He had the best weed.
Mike Jacoby had the J-Tear. Bill Harris, our buddy, was like, dude, you gotta have the J-Tear.
There was a
you
fucking
gotta have
race
the J-Tear.
with J-Tear.
So it was a race, exactly.
To do the
it
J-Tear.
was a race to do this stuff.
I'm managing the Park West half pipe.
Absolutely.
Rich is there, and I'm digging it out every day for Craig Kelly and for Jacoby and for Jimmy Scott and all those guys.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Rich and I are practicing
Half
our
like
J
Tombstone,
tears.
the
and
Tombstone.
Building the
Because
tombstones.
they had, and this is when I'm on the Nitro or the GNU. It was before Nitro. I'm on the GNU team. It's before I'm on Burton with all those guys.
Right, you was just before you went to Burton, so I'm setting the gates for those guys.
6 months later, I'm on the Burton team with all those guys.
Right.
After, yeah, exactly. But I am literally, crafting my own trick.
Right.
Because I see all this going. Exactly.
You hucked too much.
Oh, well.
And fucking was like,
well, who were we
hand
just
down,
talking?
you're like,
We were just talking
oh my
about
God.
this to somebody else the other day that I was getting disqualified at a contest for not putting my hand. No, that was at dinner. We were at dinner, and Dave Alden's dad, Paul Alden, is paying my $20 protest fee because I have been disqualified for not putting my hand down in the correct spot on a. It wasn't. You couldn't do inverted aerials.
Right.
You couldn't do inverted aerials. So, Dave Alden's dad, which is the team manager at that time of Burton Snowboards, I'm on the Burton Snowboard team. I am at the biggest contest in the world at that time, which is the Vision Pro in the snow, where you and I just had a race against, on
Did you go to the Vision?
boards.
No, I took an 8th squaw.
You guys raced head to head
on race boards.
Yeah.
And probably in the half pipe too.
Yeah, Rob was wearing that.
But anyway,
I took care.
you
Fucking first.
kicked my ass, I think.
No, dude, you took first. Fucking
Oh, in the half pipe.
The half
Yeah,
pipe.
but not in that slalom. I think you kicked my ass in the slalom.
Either way.
He's still faster than you.
Okay. we fucking love it. I mean, this is like the coolest thing on earth that you can have friends like this. That
Yeah.
Just we can battle back and forth and know that you. I mean,
I love that the
I didn't think you
Wasatch
went to the
history is-
Vision. Are we getting so far off?
No,
course
not
or
at
what?
all.
I don't even know where we are.
That's why they added. It was squaw, dude. That was like my.
I
fucking-
know.
Oh,
I
no,
that's
yeah,
where I
yeah,
was
yeah.
Chauncey.
One of my last ones.
That's when I
was
rolled the
fucking
Subaru on the way home.
Oh, damn.
Here's the bottom line.
I don't know how much further down we said 3 bottom lines.
Here's the
I was gonna
here's
pull-
the
I think I
fucking
have a
thing.
picture, though,
It's
that'll be the
fucking
bottom line.
2019. December, fucking what, 18th or 17th?
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
It's 2020.
So I got my Burton Backhill Christmas
Hold on,
Hold
79.
on, fucking. Here's the bottom line. We haven't fucking stopped riding since competition days. None of us. Continuous.
Full
It's my
speed.
fucking passion.
Yeah.
It's Davis's
Yeah.
passion. It's Drew's passion. It's Noel's passion.
Oh,
my
Nothing-
passion. My passion has gone to my kids. 17 and 19. They fucking love it, and to be able to bring them into the fray and have them
To see
be
his
able to ride
fucking
with
kids.
boys. They're not pro status or anything. They're not. That's a fucking like these days
Yeah.
a full on thing. But have them just go, oh my god,
But we can't.
they
do
rip, and we're riding with. It's a new generation. They enjoy it and love it and have it as
To
passion.
try and keep up with his
It's
kids
fucking
is-
amazing
Is
shit, and
I had
that's
a hard
the
time
thing.
keeping up with him today.
Well, dude, it's just understand. There's many pros out there that have come and gone, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't ride anymore.
Tons.
And they had their time, and I think that if they got back into it, they would remember what it was all about. We're blessed. I'm blessed. We're blessed
Well-
with the Wasatch and be able to fucking ride when we want.
I
and it's
know
amazing.
that we
Yeah, that's
we,
a good
we
bottom
grew
line.
up with this. It didn't matter us being pro snowboarders or whatever.
No,
It-
we
that
fucking just
that
rode.
was a blessing. But
It
to
goddamn
me, it's
did
always going. I'm gonna ski for the rest of my life. I don't even call it snow. I'm skiing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I mean that's not a. It's a. It doesn't. I'm thankful that I had what I did, and I had an influence or something, and and my friend. But these are always going to be my friends.
That's dope.
You know, I mean,
And to have a little tax, we're pushing, we're over 50. To
We're
tax
pushing 40.
every Sunday.
We're 40, we're actually in our
Funny
50s.
saying
To tax to be able to just like, who's in? Are we on? And we're fucking on.
Yeah.
We're on. Yes.
Every
the,
storm.
The industry and all those that hyped and all that. Again, I go back. It's a passion, and
We're
we
bitter.
are continuous.
we're bitter because the industry has not treated us. And I'm gonna fucking step up for all. I mean,
Wasatch
we
hasn't been
deserved a
fucking-
little bit more, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. But it is what it is, and we're just still gonna fucking ride our boards. It doesn't matter. It never has mattered. It was great that I got paid, you got paid, we got this, that, and the other, and it went away. It did, whatever. But we're still
And don't
we're
forget,
still riding.
we're the ones that sued Alta.
Yeah, we'll go to that.
I was the president
This
of
is
Wasatch Equality.
Wasatch Equality.
That's so sick.
I'm not.
Sued Alta.
Epic.
So
Well, thank you.
We're gonna open another chapter.
It's like you want to be here, but there's another. We snaggled, a bunch of money out of Rick Alden and
Fucking poke
our
the
lawyer
bear.
buddy.
We poked the bear hard. And
damn
hey,
sure.
born and raised in this fucking city, we all rode Alta. 80,
Oh, yeah.
81,
Right.
boom.
K-tail
No more.
boots.
No more riding.
You carried your Burton board in your lap.
Yeah,
And you rode.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
we
never
all
break
did
out
that.
With the K-tail
Bourbon
skis.
below
I
there.
saw.
With the K-tail skis.
I have a picture on my phone today.
I was just
of
trying
the
to
ones
find a
from
picture of that. I
up
think
in,
I have a
um,
few.
Who's the printer up in marketing at Snowbird? Greg?
Brian Brown.
Brian Brown.
And
He-
Brian's been around
he's
for a
got-
long
he has
time.
the skis
Brian
under his desk.
Brian
He showed
came
me.
from Chicago and lived in Rich's basement.
Are you serious?
Oh, fuck, dude. This is
He
like
was there for that year,
93,
right?
94, 92.
Here's a picture of Jeff Davis and I in 6th grade.
Oh my God! Look at those BMXs.
Oh, yeah, fucking that guy. Both BMX motherfuckers.
That's me and that's him.
I want to see.
That's awesome.
Oh my
In front of where, this is like
Well, that's
not
a
even a half a
street.
mile from here. And I don't live less than that from here as
Oh
well.
my God!
Yeah, we've been all around the block here.
You remember
tonight.
that movie Rad? You remember Rad, the movie?
Yeah, I
the
know
BMX
that
movie.
Yeah.
They filmed it in Calgary.
Right.
And Ken was away or something the week they filmed it, and all of his friends are in that movie, and he didn't get in. He was all pissed.
So I did Shift, and that was our original. We
Oh,
may have
wow.
sent those to the shop. You were.
Shift. I remember
Yeah.
selling those exact boards, that exact graphic.
Thanks for
Yeah.
letting us steal your thunder a little bit.
So that was Ken Kelly and I's brand.
Where would we have linked with you in Vegas? Were you in Vegas? You had a
This guy
booth
fucking
Yeah.
he'll-
that
Like
year.
3 years.
That yellow bus got thrown out, and that would have been around then. Yeah.
So that-
94, 95, 96.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
our biggest booth would have been. It was an election year because we did the booth in election red, white, and blue.
Yeah, right.
And we painted a 27-foot motorhome red, white, and blue that we left in the parking lot
Oh my God.
right in front of the convention center and
Like a
paid like a
mirrors,
$75 overnight parking fee.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just left it right
yeah.
there so that people
Oh,
could
that's
party.
so sick.
You see that?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah,
See that
those
in
shift
there?
boards sold out. We sold them. They sold
I mean, how
early
the hell they
season,
come
like
up with
before the
that?
snow even fell.
Dude, how fucking crazy was that photo? Because you were like, I had the Instagram.
And then we had the 2 more years after that before we shit the bed.
It was that same fucking
Huh?
picture, dude.
I thought I had some pictures of here of some Wii stuff that I had to dump it all off my phone.
Yeah, you run out of space.
Bunch of rock climbing stuff. Oh,
Hey,
That's Kemper. That.
that's
I'm-
Rich.
I'm
and he
glad
wore
you
it on
came over.
Nostalgic
yeah,
Day.
me too,
Dude.
buddy.
A couple years ago, he wore his original outfit.
That's the Kemper
Yeah.
and Sun Ice pants.
Oh, God.
This is no
Sun
bullshit,
Ice.
dude.
What? Sun
You
Ice?
got
Yeah.
some fucking
Whiskey-
history.
whiskey
Oh, yeah,
dance
Sun
day.
Ice.
You got some
that's
history here.
Fucking Captain Vargas right
This
there.
has been a show, man. You guys are awesome.
And we did Pipeline as a crew
Well, that's the
last
fucking...
year. That's probably where
That's
Betty and Hetzel and
Who's hats?
Yeah,
Davis.
my boy.
That's his boy.
Yeah.
There's the
was last
lawyer
year.
for that
Oh, sick.
instigated the whole thing against Wasatch against
Yeah,
Alta. and
yeah, that's
the ski
epic.
company.
That's an epic crew.
And there's not, dude. Again, there's.
Oh, and somehow I ended up in my garage with a board from Mike Estes.
Oh my!
What? Mike Estes? What?
Yeah, like a Burton. I have this board in my collection. I just have that fucking.
He's your fucking area.
Yeah.
Estes.
What do you call
Yeah,
those?
sure.
That's a
PJ.
Barfoot. Yeah.
I know, but what do you call them?
Asymmetrical.
Yeah, asymmetrical. It's in my
race
garage.
board. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. You guys, thank you so much for
Yeah, we'll be interested to hear what that.
for bringing
how you-
it. Yeah.
You're gonna have to do a little cut and fucking.
Yeah. I'll have to send it to you guys so you can approve it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm getting you all our names right now.
Thank you.
FNRad shoutouts this week to everyone who snowboards in Utah. You guys got a great zone up in there. I can't wait to get back. Special thanks to our guests, Jeff Davis, Drew Hicken, Rich Vargas, and Noel Walkingshaw. Thanks to Benny Pellegrino for linking me up with Jeff. Thanks to John Buffrey and Cowboy for talking about inventing snowboarding. Thanks to Jeff Fulton and Jason Bazarich for generally being the fucking raddest snowboarders around. Thanks to Dan Savage, who wrote the Heli crash article I read regarding the Weekly's crash. And thanks to Circe Wallace and Dennis Nazari for their insights into the history of snowboarding. Thank you, Jake, Burton Carpenter, Dmitry Milovich, Sherman Poppin, Chuck Barfoot, and Tom Sims for this wonderful obsession. Be sure to come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast, presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.